Give me a hot take, man. What do you think so far?
Of NAMM, Summer NAMM.
Summer NAMM.
Man, I'm just gonna say what I need to say. Which, by the way, if you ever come to Nashville, this place isn't bad. I played the stage a couple times, bar lines. Yeah, not bad. So, you know, I mean, these types of events are not my cup of tea, but we saw one Carlito, and that was fun.
All right.
Oh, really? Oh, come on, man.
For one.
Catch up with him. It's always fun to know people online and then get to meet them in person. Not a lot of drum action here. In-ears are here, Alclair's in here, so we're gonna talk to them for a while. So a lot of you are having to deal with in-ears, and dealing with in-ears, we're dealing with our ears, and inside of your ear, I don't know if you've checked lately, but it's not really pretty. A lot of times it's hairy. I know mine are. There's some nasty stuff in there. I know it's hard to believe, but there's not a part of me that's not super good when it's a joke. So the ear is really a gross place, and we're sticking stuff in there, so we have to clean them. And a lot of times I'll find that I'm going, man, my in-ear's not working, then I'll go, oh wow, I need to clean it out. So we're here with Andy, who, if you've watched the videos before, is master of all things in-ear, works for Alclair, and he's going to talk to us about an odd thing that you wouldn't think you have to deal with, but I never thought I'd have to deal with in-ear monitors so much. They used to be a specialty item, but now many of you played at small venues and small churches, and you're having to deal with them. So cleaning these things that we're sticking in the inside
gross,
of our
man.
body, man. Yeah, it is. It's super gross.
It's, you know, and actually even grosser is as a manufacturer of an in-ear monitor, we probably need to tell people that you shouldn't use a Q-tip.
Yeah.
And partially what happens, if you're doing it regularly every day, every other day, it's not such a big deal. But what happens a lot of times is you have some wax that builds up, and you push that Q-tip in, and you start pushing that wax up
Further and further.
and then you push it back up. You know, and when we go to mold somebody and look inside their ear, and we see this beautifully polished wax,
Yeah.
you know, and you can see the swirly of the Q-tip in there. And you're like, oh, I never had Q-tip.
So this was a thing, because when I first went to have my ears done, I've had to have my ears cleaned out 2 or 3 times over my professional career because of earplugs, and mainly because of earplugs. I've used earplugs and the foam kind that just shove in there. And so I believe even when we did molds, I may have had to go get them cleaned before we did it, because one ear was really bad. A lot of times you'll know because it'll either close up and you can't hear, or it'll hurt. Mine got to hurting one time. But if that ever happens, go get your ears cleaned out professionally. Don't stick Q-tips in there. But just know if you go to get molds, sometimes that can be an issue, is that you've got so much nasty gunk up in your skull that you need to go get it washed.
Now, I mean, in defense of earwax, it's actually a good thing for your body to produce.
Absolutely.
And it protects all the inner workings of our ears, and our ears are so critical because, you know, even I think Helen Keller said if she could have one sense back, it would be her ears.
Yeah.
And because it's our ears make us relational and allow us to interact with other people in our world around us. You can close your eyes and still hear where people are, and it's very difficult when you don't have hearing.
Yeah.
You just have no awareness of where you are. So your wax is actually a good thing. I wouldn't go so far as saying your wax is your friend, but
but it is a better thing.
It is.
We're talking.
Yeah, and so the challenge is now we're putting something in our ears. You know, you've got an in-ear monitor that, you know, is going to twist in your ear, and if you do have wax in your ear, you might have just pushed that right into a chunk of wax.
Right.
We have something now that's got tubes and ports right there on the end where sound is coming out.
Right.
And those can get filled with wax. Sometimes we'll sweat. I don't know. You ever sweat when you play?
Once or twice.
And we sweat, and then sweat and wax vaporize and kind of go further up the tubes, perhaps, than you can clean with the tool. And they'll collect on what's called a damper. So inside this, there's a tube, and then there's an acoustic resistor. Basically, that helps tame the sound.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is how to best maintain this little instrument that we put in a rather violent place. The first thing is, once they come out of your ears, what you want to do is use a tool that came with it. Usually has a little bit of a prong on there, and we're just going to dip it in and do a little spin around and kind of take out any grossness that is in there. And that's about as far as you really want to go in cleaning the ports of those monitors. A lot of times we'll get monitors in for repair, or someone will say, so I got some pencil lead or whatever, where they kind of try to stick it as far down as possible.
Yeah.
And not knowing that there's a damper in there, they'll puncture that damper and it changes the whole sound quality.
Right.
So there, you may have a brush that you can just brush them off.
So the tool they send you, don't go any further than that tool is made.
Yeah, you
because
don't
there's
wanna
stuff in
go-
there that it's like your eardrum. There's stuff in there you'll puncture if you keep going.
Yeah.
So
And again, you just kind of put it in and spin it around. And there are times where you will need to get your in-ear monitors professionally cleaned, and that's something most companies are able to do. Again, when you purchase your in-ears, it's a good question to ask. It's like, what does it cost to get these
now,
cleaned out?
if I needed a cleaning or a small repair on ears, what does that run?
We usually, usually the first time we do it, we don't charge, because there's an education piece. What happens when it does get too much wax in it is it start to choke off the sound.
Okay.
Most of the time, someone will hear it and say like, "Oh, my driver is out. I've lost sound, and so I don't have as much low end, or I don't have as high end, or it's louder on one side than the other. It must be a bad driver." So we'll do the first repair often free. After that, it's usually about $50 and the reason it's expensive is we got to replace the whole tubes,
Right.
you know, and make sure that it's perfect again. But yeah, so that's kind of what happens is people think that they've blown a driver. A balanced armature driver is very difficult to blow. They can take a lot of voltage. They don't like to be dropped.
Okay.
That's another thing. So if you can tell the difference if your in-ear monitor is rattling or it sounds like nuts and bolts in a dryer, then you've probably thrown off your balanced armature driver is no longer balanced, and the armature is now off to the side. But if you've just lost volume or lost certain frequencies, then it probably needs a good cleaning. So cleaning the inside just like that, then wiping down with a rag on the outside. A lot of times when that comes out of your ear, there'll kind of be a thin layer of wax that goes along the outside. And then what can happen later is you've just put that wax back into your ear the next time you play.
Right.
And now you've provided a little bit of more source material to sweat and atomize and go back into your. So
Right.
while we want to probably leave the wax in your ear as much as possible, on your ears monitors, you want to get that cleaned off.
And another thing, when you sweat a lot at the gig, before you throw them back in the case,
Yep.
kind of towel them off or let them air dry or something before you close them up, and
Yeah, a lot of cases will have a desiccant, little tin that says like that silica gel, do not
Sure.
eat, that we see sometimes in clothing, or and that will help wick away moisture.
Okay.
We actually do a leather case.
yeah, their cases are really cool.
This leather case, made by the Haiti made folks.
Yeah,
so-
tell them. So
Yeah.
this is how cool this company is. I actually the bass player, or we know Will,
Yeah.
who used to play in
Audio adrenaline.
Audio Adrenaline.
Yep.
And I wound up playing at church one day with Will, and we were talking about the company that they put people to.
Yeah,
to work.
so Haiti Made is an organization that helps Haitians by giving them a job. A lot of times, you know, when you have a hurricane relief or something, as Americans, we want to just send people over to help rebuild things, when really what people need is for us to go down, and we'll always say, go down and buy a lobster dinner.
Yeah.
You know, because you're employing so many people when you do that. And so by partnering with Haiti Made, we're able to feed a significant number of families. Like every person employed feeds like 10 people or something like that.
That's crazy.
And so we switch to these cases because not only do they keep your in-ears very safe,
They're handmade. is
they're
that correct?
handmade. Yep, this
Leather.
is leather, and it actually kind of wicks away some of the moisture as well. So it's a really nice case. There's a great padding here. We also do the Pelican case, which is great if you're boating, you know, or want to keep it waterproof. And there affords a lot of protection. But what happens sometimes, I'll just say this kind of is we'll see if I can get this guy together. When people will throw their monitors into their case, they won't be thinking about it, and they'll end up stacking on top of each other inside the case, kind of
Right.
like that.
Right.
And then you punch down that lid and just
And it crunches
crunch.
it. Yeah. Talking about the Pelican hard type
The
cases.
Pelican hard case. So this actually helps with that, and it doesn't give you that same damage. You just put it in the case, and dropping it, throwing it in a backpack. I've never had a problem with it. I mean, it's really pretty robust.
In-ears are something, when I was on the road, that they always went with me. They didn't go in my gear or I always took them with me to the hotel or wherever. They just went in my stick bag or my backpack. I never really packed them with my gear because they're such a fragile type of a thing.
And another tip, I see a lot of times people will put their in-ears, clip it onto their backpack on the outside. If you're traveling through an airport, put them inside the backpack. Because a lot of people will get them ripped off. You know, you turn around or someone will just come by and unhook them.
Yeah.
So when you're in an airport, it's probably better not to advertise that you've got. I don't know why people steal them because
you can't use them. Yeah, you can't use them. They're custom made.
Every once in a while, we'll ask somebody, "Hey, can you recase our monitors?" And they're like, "No, I can tell that was belonged to somebody who said they were stolen."
So the best in-ear story I have is you say in airports, and we'll get back to cleaning in just a second. But we went to showcase for a label in New York for Universal. On the flight back, our manager had come with us, and no one in the band really cared for the manager. And so he wound up getting set at the front, and I always bring my ears to block out kids.
Yes.
You know, if you get a screaming baby, I love kids, but screaming babies on planes is no fun.
No.
And the only baby on the plane got set right beside our manager, and all of us had ears in the back, and he had forgotten his. And so we watched as he had a screaming baby right beside him, and all of us had our molded in-ears. We couldn't hear a thing. So it kind of played out in the end. But so as far as cleaning, we've got cleaning the inside, cleaning the outside. What else you got?
That's putting them in the case really nice. The cables do like to get kinked.
Yeah.
So when you do put them away, I recommend they all will have a little slider here. That's kind of what slides against the back of your head. So I slide it down to the end and just kind of wrap it around a few fingers loosely.
So the way he's wrapping, a friend of mine taught me that years ago. It's the 3-finger twist.
Yep.
So just take 3 of your fingers and wrap the cord around those fingers, and that's not going to kink your cable. It's not too small for it, because if you just take it and you bundle it up, you're going to get a short in that cable. But I've never, as long as I've done that, I've never gotten a short in my cable just by using that method of 2 for me is just a little too small, and 4 is just too wide. But the 3 fingers is just enough where you can wrap it up, put it back in there, and you're good to go.
I don't know if you've ever, as a kid, ever did like a coat hanger.
Oh yeah.
Did this, and if you just take a coat hanger and vibrate it enough, it'll eventually just split.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we're doing with the cables whenever you wind it up. So you want to do it nice and gentle so there aren't any really tight angles, because that's the equivalent of just, and cables are, it's a consumable.
Right.
Mic cables go bad, instrument cables go bad, drumsticks go bad. You just are going to use them. So in the process of owning your ears, don't be shocked when the cable
You'll have
fails.
to replace it.
Yeah.
You'll go through a cable.
They're very easy to change. You can just pop them out here at the end, and there's often a little dot on the side of the cable to tell you which color. Right is red, blue is left, and just put them back in. You don't need to be afraid. They're actually pretty robust, the jack is, so you can push it pretty hard. I know when I first got mine, I was really concerned. I was trying to be too ginger.
Right.
You put it in, you just don't want to poke that through. You think maybe that jack is going to pump through, but nope, you can get in there really good and seat it as far as it'll possibly go.
That is something about in-ears that I hate whenever the cord comes as one unit with the in-ear, because when the cord goes bad, you got to replace the whole thing. So awesome. So that's going to be how to clean the in-ears, and that may seem like second nature to some of you, but some of you may really feel like my in-ears are broken, and they're not. You just got to clean them. So hopefully this helped a couple of you. Share it with somebody else. Go check out Alclair and all that they've got going on there. They are really good people, and as you can see from just the
check out Haiti Made too.
Check out Haiti Made, which is run by a mutual friend of both of ours, Will, a great person, and no matter what you do, I'll see you here in the next video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. I don't know what you're doing if you haven't. Come on.